All right, welcome everyone. My name is Tiffany. I'm the Tipsy Artist. We are going live today to teach you how to paint this beautiful butterfly. Something a little bit different in the year 2022, so we're working on different surfaces, but this is on a vinyl record, and we're using one of our painting kits. So we've used some graphite paper and our traceable here, and I've gone ahead and worked this through. I'm going to go back over this to show you what I've done. But there was graphite paper underneath here. You want to make sure and place the graphite paper with the dull gray side facing up, and then the black shiny side facing the record. And then you will use a pencil to go ahead and do your tracing that comes with the kit. And basically you'll just take it and then just go all the way around the outside edge and then around every shape here and do all of that tracing. That will take you a little bit of time to go ahead and do that. Little circles. And again, just be very precise and take your time with it. And I've only taped up here at the top. This tape also comes with your kit too, by the way, but I tape just up at the top and I secure the graphite paper first. Again, dull gray side facing up, shiny black side facing down. That will make the transfer for you. And then the traceable here on top. So again, just do the top. The reason why is so that as you're doing your trace, you can constantly lift up and make sure that that transfer is happening. All right, so again, pencil, and then trace, and then we're going to kind of magically lift this up because I have worked ahead. So we're going to go ahead and lift this up so that you can see the work that I've done. Now it will basically look like a graphite line, like pencil lead on the surface area of the record player, which I thought was a little bit hard to see. So I did include a gold permanent marker in the kit as well. And so I went ahead and took that gold permanent marker and I went ahead and made a line over the entire trace so that that is very visible and shows up really nicely. So now you have this image on top of the vinyl record that's really easy to see. And now it's all ready to paint, so that's very easy. We love that. So that tracing process, again, makes that process very easy to do. All right, so let's go ahead and start talking about the painting part now. So we've got some brushes here that come with your kit, and let's go ahead and introduce those. We've got the Mama brush. This is your biggest, let's go ahead and pull that a little bit closer there. So here's my Mama brush. 1/2 inch flat tack-on brush, and then we've got our little buddy, little 1/4 inch flat tack-on brush, and then we have our little bit brush, little round tack-on. We've got some napkins to go ahead and get cleaned up, little bucket of water. I've got some plates here to go ahead and do our mixing. Acts as our little palette, and then we've got your paint kit. So this is the paint kit that comes with your kit here, so lots of pretty paints here to use. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with our really bright colors. This is going to be a bright butterfly. So let's go ahead and get started with some Cadmium Orange. Now, my paints, I've used these for one other class, but if you have not, if you've got a brand new set here, there will be a little bit of a foil lining on top. You'll want to lift that off. I'm going to go ahead and do a nice little nickel-sized dollop of my Cadmium Orange. There it is. And then let's also go ahead and use some Cadmium Yellow. Do another nickel-sized dollop of that. And then let's also go ahead and make sure we've got some bright primary yellow nearby as well. See, there's that. I haven't used this one yet, so you can see what that looks like. So it's got a nice little thing you can grab hold of to lift that off. This one's really, there it goes. It's like, ooh, that one's going to give me a little bit of struggle, but there we go. All right. So one of the things that's important to note too is that I always start with my lightest colors first as I'm doing this painting process. So we're going to go ahead and start with all those bright, light yellows and orange tones. All right, I'm going to go ahead and use my Mama brush. Again, this is that 1/2-inch flat Taklon brush as a mixer. So let's see, we're going to go ahead and just push into that bright orange, and then let's go ahead and grab a little bit of that cadmium yellow and just put those two together. So it's going to make a really nice, vibrant, kind of a peachy tone. All right, so that's really pretty. Now, I just use this as a mixer, so I'm going to go ahead and scrape off the excess. And since I'm done with this for a little while, I'm going to go ahead and rinse that out. We want to make sure and rinse out our brushes quickly when we're using acrylic paints, because the paint will harden up. It'll set up pretty quickly. So acrylic paint can dry sometimes in about 5 minutes. So you want to be careful and go ahead and get this rinsed off pretty quickly. If you don't have a chance to get to it, just go ahead and, it's better to leave it in the water than it is to leave it sitting out on a napkin. Alright, so this is all ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and use my little bit brush here. Go ahead and do a little bit of a press into this color. And I'm going to go ahead and get nice control on the end, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a twist into that paint, and that will get that point of the brush a little bit more refined. And hello to everybody out there joining us today. If you have any questions or sweet encouraging comments, happy thoughts, you're welcome to leave those in the comments, and then I'll be sure and get back with you right after the class. Alright, so I'm just working right into this trace. I'm dealing with a little bit of a transparency. So what I can do is I can go ahead and take my brush and just go ahead and lay it a little bit more over to the side, but I'm going to go ahead and push this into that very first shape here. And we have lots of beautiful colors with this paint kit, so of course you're welcome to use different shades. Be creative and kind of do your own thing. So initially I'm just trying to get it into that basic shape. And sometimes what you might have to do with the light, you might have to do a little bit of a turn up to one side or the other so that you can see it a little bit better. And on my particular record, I do have a little bit of a rainbow stripe happening there, but I'm not going to fight that. If some of that peeks through or shows through in the design, I think that's kind of a fun element. So if you do have something kind of fun happening on your record, sometimes you want to optimize that design that's already there. And those things are kind of spontaneous. I've actually been to a butterfly garden before at Mackinac Island. I don't know if you ever get a chance to go up there and visit that. It is well worth it. It's really fun. They have one in Tyler, Texas too, I think. And with the butterfly, I'm definitely going to be working with some symmetry on this. So whatever I do to one side, I want to make sure and do to the other side. And even though this is a bit translucent at first. I'm going to go ahead and just work on getting that very first section down. And I am having to definitely lay the brush more directly over to the side. Alright, that's a great start, and I'm going to do the same thing over on the other side. Now I need to reload a little bit with my paint, so again I'm using another big dollop. This is Cadmium Yellow. And let's go ahead and get a little bit more of the Cadmium Orange, just in case. Just work those two together a little bit. And we can do the same thing here on the other side. Just trying to be careful to get that first layer down, and it is translucent for sure. So we'll be coming in with second coat after it sets up and dries here in a little bit. But if you try to put on too much all at once, it'll just keep digging right into that paint. Alright, so it's really pretty. We've got those two sections there on that side. Now let's go ahead and work to this bottom section. And again, it's the same color. Let's go ahead and pull in a little bit of that Cadmium Yellow and our Cadmium Orange. And mix those two together. And we're just working it right into the trace. So hold it more like a pencil when you're making little turns and you need a little bit more precision. And then when you want to get a more opaque layer of paint on the flat side of the brush, then you want to hold that brush more over to the side. Alright, now again with symmetry, same thing on the other side. And again, don't be too concerned about the translucent quality of the paint yet. We always have time to come back in and add another layer. So at this point, we're just trying to make sure we have symmetry of color and get that first layer down. Alright, so that is a good first start here. Now I'm going to come in and do some of the spots up in the outer sections. So I'm still using my cadmium yellow, my orange, but I'm going to pull in a little bit more of this bright primary yellow now. Make it a little bit brighter. Get a nice little dollop of paint on the end. Just going to touch down into that shape. Using a lot more of that primary yellow now. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Need a little bit more of that primary yellow. And I would feel free to turn the record tube for positioning, whatever makes it a little bit easier for you to get to a certain angle. right, wonderful. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and load up a little bit more with my cadmium yellow and my cadmium orange. And we're going to work on those second coats now to get a little bit more of a layer of paint. Because while we've been working on those dots, this has had some dry time. So we're going to work back into those sections. And then as we do that, this will become quite a bit more vibrant. You can already start to see a big difference. You can add a little bit more of that yellow into this too to add a much more vibrant quality to this. Be pulling that through too. And the more dry layers of paint that come into those fuller sections there, it's much easier to apply those layers as we go. So initially, very slick surface created quite a bit more resistance, but as we add more layers, it becomes a lot easier. So pretty, I love it. And we'll start to work into the bottom section. I'm running a little low on my cadmium yellow. I'm going to add a bit more of that. And remember too, the cure to that transparency is to hold the brush a little bit more over to the side parallel to the canvas there, or rather the canvas today is our vinyl record. So parallel to the vinyl record. I'm going to add a little touch of that primary yellow in there. Pull in that vibrant shade there. That's really pretty. This is looking really lovely. Let's see. Okay. Now I'm going to pop back in for a bit more of my primary yellow. I'm noticing some translucency up here in the little spots, and add a little second coat here to some of these. I think the other side looks really good. And if you notice anything on yours that still needs a third coat, then just take your time with it. You can always pause this and then continue on. Alright, so that looks really nice. So I'm going to rinse out. Now we're going to have some fun with some different colors here. So I'm going to grab my primary magenta. Has a nice pink quality to it. Just do a nice nickel-sized dollop of that. Let's also use some cadmium red. Okay. Alright, we're going to have fun making some dots. So I'm going to use the end of the brush. This is my Mama brush. And I'm going to go ahead and just dip right into that primary magenta. See, just like that. And then I'll press straight forward. And just make a fun little dot here. Right on the end. Every single time I see a little dash of yellow, I'll add a little bit of that primary magenta to the end of that stroke with a little dot. This is such a fast, easy way to add this nice little shape here. Alright, really nice. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little wipe here. You can also add some fun little dots over the larger section here if you want to make sure that it's nice and dry. You're a little bit hesitant about that. You can let that set up and dry completely. But I'm going to still use the same technique. I'm going to use the end of the brush, dip right into the cadmium red, and then I'm just going to add a few little touches of those dots right over the top. See, just like that. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side so that it is nice and symmetrical. You can always make smaller dots too by using a smaller brush and using the end of that handle. Alright, so we've got some really fun design work happening there. Alright, now I'm going to grab some titanium white. Nice big heaping dollop of that. And we're going to do some smaller dots here. Little bit brush, the handle. Let's go ahead and just dip into the white. Just like that. Okay. Now we're going to work on the body of our butterfly a little bit here, so I'm going to mix up another color here, some Viridian. Using my little bit brush and a little bit of water. Just turn that so we can see it. So this is our Viridian and a little bit of titanium white. We're just going to run this right through the center of the body. Really pretty. Go ahead and add just a touch of blue here to work with. And we're going to make some curves here across. These look kind of like making a little disease into the shape there. So I'm coming back in with that little touch of that primary cyan blue, and then just kind of working that all the way around the shape. All right, so we have that coming right through the center there. And I've got that primary cyan blue on my little bit brush, and then I twisted it back into that Viridian and the white. And I'll go ahead and work this through that little section there. This is for the antenna. And I will say, when it comes to this base here that's underneath, so it's up to you if you want to leave it. If it has a really cool design, sometimes we just don't know what we're dealing with here on the record. So it could potentially have something really awesome there and you might want to leave it. Sometimes if you feel like it's a bit too distracting, you're not really happy with what's going on, you can go ahead and just paint right over it too. So I'll just leave that up to you as an option. All right. Alright, I'm going to make another little dip of white here. Kind of put this back into my antenna. White. Alright, let's go ahead and mix up a little touch of turquoise here. So I'm going to do, using these colors here, I'm going to take my little buddy brush and grab that primary cyan blue, the white, and the turquoise. Let's go ahead and mix all that together. Use my little bit brush here. Just do another little accent of color right here over the top. You You can also make dot patterns with this same color if you like the look of that into the shape of the butterfly. So I'll give you a little bit of a reference on that. I'm going to take a little bit brush. Let's just start with our Viridian, and we can do a few of these just so you can kind of see what that looks like. Alright, now, and let's go ahead and use some violet. Do a little dollop of that over here. And then let's go ahead and get some more white. And we're going to mix up some lavender. I'm going to go ahead and paint over the top of this center here, because in my particular situation I feel like it's a little bit distracting, so I'd rather have a solid surface area coming from behind here. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the circle lavender, and you can use some of these other colors too. You can use your turquoise if you want to do a different direction with the color. I'm going to go ahead and use this lavender. Alright, so in this particular case, I feel like it's really helping the design of the butterfly. Making those antennae pop, and the wings kind of pop out too in front. Butterfly, really covers up so much. There's not a whole lot that needs to be painted, but we're going to go ahead and do this little section right in here. I need to get that paint under control, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little twist here into it. That twists it back out to a nice fine point. Excuse me. All right, now I'm going to mix up a little bit of this charcoal color. Take the white and the black. I saved my darkest color for last. And we're going to let the record do most of our dark shade coming behind the butterfly. But I do want to obscure some of this lettering here, so I'm going to go ahead and work back over the top of that. we go. All right, starting to really take shape there. Let's do a little twist back into that charcoal now. Just redefine that little antenna. I'm going to use a little bit more white with our charcoal, and I'm going to work on doing the outline now around the butterfly. So I've got my little bit brush, nice firm point. So I'm coming around that shape. Again, this is our white and our black, Mars black, titanium white. Just do a little bit of a shadow of a line around that. So again, a little bit, just made that gray and coming all the way around for a little bit of a shadow. That's really going to help make it pop out to the front. Okay, that looks fantastic. Love it. I'm going to go in with a little bit more white, just a little detail here, little eyes, and little eyes. And then you can continue to add a little bit of decorative dotting here. Kind of depends on your taste. You can really load it up with lots more of that if you want. So I'm going to come back in with that just pure violet, that purple, come right in through the center here. Still using just a little touch of the violet, adding little highlights here. And if you still need more layers of vibrant color over the top, you can certainly continue to add those, because you really can't continue doing that until the paint's already dry. So of course we can come back in here and add more layers of paint over the top in case you still feel like you see some transparency. This is a really fun project that you can do at home with your kids too, if you're kind of trying to find new ideas, new surface areas. And then we'll go ahead and stop here, because you could go nuts with this. You could add little leaves if you wanted to, all kinds of different fun things, or you can keep it just kind of simple. But the hanging is really interesting. So you still have that little hole right in the center. And what I like to do is I actually just use a drill gun, and then I just screw in a little screw right through the center just to hang these into the wall. So I think they're really fun. But that's how we hang ours. But they are lovely. So just fun, whimsical. You could even maybe hang these out in the garden. Just a painted record album, that's all this is. So just something fun, something different. But y'all have fun with that. And it's been so much fun hanging out with y'all today, doing another fun little painting. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. And I will see y'all very, very soon. Toodles!